fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment. And we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment. Hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody would ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody would ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant, tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday. Hanging with the boys. Little sports nonsense and whiskey. We got plenty to discuss tonight. It's going to be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Hanging with the fellas. Robert will be joining us momentarily. He had some things to take care of around the household that had to be done now. Pinky, my guy, we're here. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm doing awesome. Got my whiskey. I got some Buffalo Trace, and I got some Buchanan's whiskey with some mashed up blackberries that they've been soaking in for a couple hours. So you know I'm in for it, buddy.
I like
it.
it. I like it. Look, people, there's a lot going on tonight, and mainly I mean the World Series. So we've got that up. We're going to be watching that and keeping an eye on things. Yankees up 5-2 right now after a grand slam by the shortstop. We'll talk about that a little bit. We've got some college football to discuss, namely the Heisman race and kind of what that entails right now. We've got plenty of NFL, little basketball. I got a topic I want to bring up and see what the fellas think. And then obviously NFL, plenty of it. We got all sorts of stuff to discuss, trade deadline issues and do's and don'ts and teams in need and buyers, sellers, and all the festivities from this last week. NFL needs to check their replay system. There's a lot. Okay. So that being said, Pinky, where would you like to begin this fine evening, sir?
Well, I was going to say, I guess a little bit of nonsense, just a couple quick hitters. Robert's not here. He won't mind. I did go see Venom last week with Pinky Jr. Again, I thought it was better than 2. Not saying a whole lot, but it's better than 2. I still don't know if it was good, though. Like, I can't, like, Robert was like, should I go see it in a theater? And I was like, I don't know if it can get my Pinky approved. You know,
guys, if you haven't caught on yet, Pinky is easily entertained when it comes to the movies. He may not say it was a good movie, but he can easily say he was entertained. So if he's not even willing to say he was entertained, or he's on the fence of if he was entertained, it's not a good sign.
there's some good stuff in there, but it's like just like the overall premise is pretty weak. Yeah, I would say if you've got a pass like I have, I can see 3 movies a week.
Yeah,
is it worth seeing? Probably, right? It's not going to hurt you any because you can see multiple movies a week. But if you're going to go pay your hard-earned money and lay down your $18 to $20 or whatever, nah, skip it. So.
And we're 5-3. 5-3. All right, we got top 5, 5-3. Will Smith just cranked one out of the yard. We got a game, ladies and gentlemen. What's the deal with Sony? Like, they have to not use the entity for like 365 days or something like that for it to revert all the way back to Marvel. Like,
there's a time frame on. They have to put out a movie within a certain amount for the rights to not completely go back to Marvel.
And the way they've set up their Spider-Man universe and using every known character in Spider-Man to create movies at this point in time,
right?
They're probably never giving it up.
Which I think is what they're doing just to keep Spider-Man. Because now in December they have Kraven that's coming out, which is again a villain in the Spider-Man universe that they're kind of making an anti-hero.
Kraven, I would say, is kind of an anti-hero, though, more so than Venom ever was.
I mean, but he's truly just a
anti-hero is not the right word. He's a dark side user. He's not a Sith. He's just a dark side user because he's very much about himself and his research and his love and all of that stuff. He doesn't really care about helping others. But he's not necessarily trying to like make a muck of it.
I don't know why Sony wants to keep doing this because they did that with Morbius as well. Like he's a villain, and yet they were trying to make him,
But there's still Kraven to come, which is heavily R-rated.
That's what we were just talking about.
So like,
welcome to the show, Robert.
Hey,
cheers, dude.
I had some issues. I apologize.
Your mic sounds a little low, my friend.
Real quiet tonight.
Hang on. There we go. Is that better?
That's better.
All right, cool.
So yeah, we were talking about that because I was mentioning Venom, and I probably can't give my pinky stamp of approval. So
Venom sucks. Like, I don't even have to see it, and I know it sucks.
So is Spider-Man Noir, is that still Sony?
I don't know what that. No, it's
even
not
though
Sony,
Amazon's putting it out. Like, how does that work?
I don't know. I'm still trying to quite figure this out because it doesn't make sense to me with the licensing issues.
Right, and then they're talking like they're going to start their own little franchise.
Right, which is supposed to possibly connect to the Spider-Verse movies, but then we also had Tom Holland like less than a week ago saying that Spider-Man 4 is being filmed. So
right.
I'm very confused by what is happening with
Spider-Man. Is Spider-Man Noir animated or is it live action?
No, it's live action. Nicolas Cage is they've already
live action
released videos and photos of him, well, quote unquote him, in the Spider Noir costume. So we'll see where this goes from here.
Okay. So I saw Venom. I was telling Robert at work today. I did finally sit down with Junior. We both had not seen The Batman. So we did watch that.
What'd you think?
I did thoroughly enjoy it.
It's really good.
First time I saw it, I was drunk. This time I was focused, had my phone set aside. I was in it, and it was very enjoyable. Really
I like Robert Pattinson's portrayal of an early Batman kind of finding himself, if you will.
I still have issues because, again, I don't think they really went too far into it. I prefer, and that's why I like Michael Keaton. I just thought he played like the arrogant billionaire really well.
See, but listen, when the Batman with Matt Reeves is based off of Batman Year One, and this is the second year of Bruce Wayne being Batman. So Bruce Wayne and Batman have not converged into one entity yet. They're very separate lives. So until that happens, he will be a very emo depressed person because he is now donning that I am vengeance personality.
Exactly, Robert.
Like,
he's not, he hasn't gotten the idea of I have to portray two separate lifestyles to keep up the identity of both so that I can continue to do both at a high level. So he's still trying to find his way of, okay, I don't want to be this rich billionaire trust fund baby. My parents are gone. I'm going to go deep into the dark. Once he realizes, once he realizes he's Batman and he knows kind of who he is finally, then we can see him pick up that Bruce Wayne lantern. And I think, I mean, based on what I've seen from Robert Pattinson, especially my mind is his portrayal in Inception. I think he can kill it as a Bruce Wayne.
And the Penguin is just building on top of that. Like, there's 2 episodes left, and I cannot wait for the both of you to finally fucking watch this series so we can talk about it. Because it is some of the best TV that's come out. And for the Penguin, Colin Farrell, and Sophia Falcone, dude, this is some of the, like, I am so excited for this universe and part 2 of the Batman to come out.
Here's the problem, though.
10 out of 10.
It's how is it going to live as its own entity? Because James Gunn is an idiot, in my opinion, and he's not going to bring this in as the Batman.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because this is the Elseworlds timeline. They're not bringing in Robert Pattinson's Batman to this DC universe. They're going to cast their own Batman,
right,
to be the father of Damian Wayne. So this is its own thing, and it will continue to be its own thing until they say otherwise. Because right now, not that anybody wants to acknowledge it, this is DC's bread and butter, and this is what's bringing home the bacon right now.
Right, but that's kind of my point, is James Gunn already feels like he's losing in that aspect, because this is a great world that's being built upon that they could easily bring in.
Not at all.
And I don't like what James Gunn's doing so far.
Well, I will tell you, he doesn't feel that way because of what he's planning for his universe.
Yeah, I know.
What
I'm
they're
just saying,
on, it's its own thing, and it's fine. When
No.
he starts his
No.
Bruce Wayne with Damian Wayne, that'll be its own entity.
I
His
know.
universe with Superman.
All separate. I understand all of that. My point is, when Christian Bale did Batman, that is like the gold standard at this point.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No.
The Dark Knight is the gold standard of Batman movies now.
Yes,
Period.
Dark Knight
End
is
all,
one
be all.
Is one of the best comic movies, but it is not the end all be all. In all honesty, it comes down to Man of Steel, and that's what they're trying to go after. Because Christopher Nolan made it very clear that this is the Batman for his universe, and that's it.
I know.
There's still the fantastical Batman.
I understand
to go
all
into,
of that. You're
and
not
that's what they're
hearing
going to
me.
bring into.
You're not hearing me. James Gunn is trying to make his own thing to go with his universe. But there are already gold standards out there for Batman that he has not incorporated or done anything with. So if his Batman does not live up to these standards that have already been presented, people will automatically go, well, this is the Batman universe I care about. This is the one I want to watch. They're not going to care what James Gunn does. It's going to be a wasted opportunity.
Not at all. I disagree with that completely.
It's fine. DC already did this once and failed.
But with this DC universe, it's not going to be the same.
We got to let it play out before we can really, decide what side of the fence we want to be on there.
I mean, you are right in the sense that Superman everything hinges on that. And if it's not basically the best Superman movie we've seen, it could be hard to recover from.
I mean, it won't just hinge on that, because there's also the
the fact that there was a pretty big backlash about him just getting rid of Henry Cavill means they've got to hit Superman out of the park. Like they've got to hit a home run with that movie.
It's not just that, it's how awesome is Peacemaker. If everything doesn't live up to how awesome Peacemaker was, you can't have Peacemaker better than your main
Robert,
character.
your mic is still awfully low, bro.
All right, let me fix it. Hang on 1 second.
All right. Probably got to move on from Batman. We got a lot to talk about tonight, but I wanted to mention that. And then I did rewatch Rings of Power as well. I finished season 1 of a rewatch.
Season 2 has been great.
And I did find it more enjoyable the second time I ran through it. I did make sure, put my phone aside. I watched it early mornings, no distractions, and it was better.
How familiar are you with the story that's being told right now?
I mean, I read The Hobbit and read Lord of the Rings. Like I read them.
That's what I was. So this is all more.
He can read, guys.
No, I'm not saying that. That's kind of what I was wondering though. You've got like the you've got like the foundation, but you don't have
so
Silmarillion and everything is where this is kind of taking place and expanding on the lore that is all before this time. And the Silmarillion, the book and everything kind of does a lot.
Everybody I know that's read that has said that shit is hard to get through.
It is. It's much more history book type than it is story type. So
and that's how Dune reads, and it's difficult as
I don't know what happened. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, guys.
So, but yeah, it's not an easy read. And I've gone through it a couple times, but it's something that was a hard read and hard to grasp all of the ins and outs, just because it is basically like a textbook almost compared to what Lord of the Rings is, where it's a true novel story. And so yeah, it's different, but that is where all this kind of is coming from, the history backlogged, if you will, and bringing that story to light. So I'm excited to finally watch it and see where it goes. But it's cool to hear that, upon rewatch, you enjoyed it a lot more than your initial reaction.
I was giving it a fair shot, and I still had some things that I was kind of like, but overall, it was much more enjoyable the second time I watched it. So.
Word.
There he is. He's back. I didn't boot you, Robert. I didn't do it, bro.
I don't know what happened. I've been having fucking problems for a little bit, so it's okay. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Pinky's first action, Robert, was hands up.
I didn't do it.
It wasn't me.
I didn't do it.
But Dodgers Yankees, it's 4-5 now.
Yep, they just got 2 runs in the bottom or top of the 5th, I should say. So, it's a game, baby. It's a game.
Do we want to? I know we're 5th inning. Do we want to wait some time to talk about baseball?
No, bring it up now. I know Robert wanted to discuss it, so let's bring him up.
So I just want to talk about how disappointing.
Robert, what did you want to discuss?
How disappointing the MVPs have been this year in the show, the big show when it fucking matters under the lights. No one has shown up other than Freeman. That is it. That is the only fucking story to talk about. Shohei Ohtani hasn't been there. Aaron Judge has been virtually invisible. Like, what the fuck is the point? There's nothing to talk about. And if the Dodgers sweep, great, because there's nothing else to really fucking harp on.
Here's the thing, and this is why I have such a love-hate relationship with baseball. It is the only thing I know of that you can fail at by all normal standards and be a Hall of Famer. And what I mean by that is a career 300 hitter is seen as very successful. So you do something 3 out of 10 times and you can be a Hall of Famer. There is nothing else that I can think of that is even close to comparable. And baseball is such a streaky sport. Whether you're hot or cold, you are on a heater or a cold streak. There is very rarely a guy who is just straight up consistent all the way through. So when people want to bash baseball players because they had a bad postseason or they didn't show up in the postseason, yes, you want your stars to show up in the brightest moments. Yes, we had high expectations, but it shouldn't be unthinkable. It shouldn't be uncommon. It shouldn't be unheard of. It shouldn't be something to bash a player for when they happen to hit a cold streak when the playoffs roll around. It is the nature of the sport and the ebb and flow of what these players go through on a day in and day out basis from the moment spring training starts. There's plenty of guys who are awful in spring training. They're awful in March and April. Then all of a sudden, May, June, July, they're great. August, September, they're bad. Then all of a sudden, October, they're great. You flip that a little bit. Guy had a great season, but he happens to be cold in October. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And so I don't put a lot of stock into this. Now, Aaron Judge career playoffs is bad. For whatever reason, October rolls around and he always seems to hit a cold streak. He's batting like 114 or something like that right now for the playoffs. Ohtani was really great in the divisional series, up through the divisional series and part of the NLCS with runners on base. But runners off base, he was like 0 for 40. So it's so hard for me to get down on players in baseball for not showing up in the playoffs because it is just a natural state of the game, unfortunately. So we were very hopeful to see the brightest stars under the brightest lights and the biggest moments show up. And that's why we wanted this series so bad. And unfortunately, they haven't. But what we have gotten is Freddie Freeman going superhuman and doing something in the World Series that's never been seen.
He's getting drug tested tomorrow.
He's the all-time RBI leader for a single World Series. He's the home run leader for a World Series. He has now cranked a home run in 4 straight games, which is absolutely absurd.
I reiterate, he's getting drug tested tomorrow.
What?
This would be his 3rd title, right? Because he got one with the. Did he get one with the Braves?
He got one with the Braves,
and then one with the Dodgers.
He wasn't on the 2020 team. This would be his 2nd. He was with Atlanta in 2021.
I'm gonna check this out.
Go ahead. I've already done this research actually, so I'm on it. Yeah, he was not on the Dodgers Mickey Mouse championship, as a lot of people like to call it, but championship nonetheless. Say what you want. Dodgers still won the year. They had a season.
The Dodgers won in 2020 and the Braves won in 2021. You're
2021. Right. And then he came over in that offseason, and he is making everybody remember why he was such a coveted free agent and why everybody was like, why would the Braves let him go? He is reminding everyone very clearly why.
And then the Braves stole Matt Olson, so they felt like they had at least a decent replacement, which Olson's played pretty good for the Braves. I think
he hasn't played poorly by any means. And it's not like Freddie Freeman's played out of his mind MVP level since he left Atlanta. But lights got really bright, and he's like, oh, yeah. This is what I do. And gotcha.
And this is one of the things that does happen in baseball quite often, where a player just gets hot at the right time. And, he's hot right now.
But this is hot. This is hot on a new level. Like this 4 home runs, 4 straight games in the World Series, the only walk-off grand slam in World Series history, off the first pitch, bottom 10, 2 outs. Like, you don't get better than, as a little kid dreaming of the moment, than what Freddie Freeman did in game 1. Like, you just don't. Like, that is everything you put into your imagination when you're playing in the backyard with your friends. Freddie Freeman had the opportunity and did. It's just crazy.
It's funny. This last week, I've had so many people. Pinky, like, who are you rooting for in the World Series? And I'm like, can they both lose? I don't know. Like if Ohtani got one, happy for Ohtani. If Judge got one, happy for Judge. But technically, I kind of just hate the Yankees' whole aura and all their championships, and their fans are like Lakers fans and Cowboys fans. They are really tough to deal with. It's tough to keep them down in reality, right? So if the Yankees won, that would just be, another level. So I probably was rooting for the Dodgers anyways. I feel like the Dodgers of this era are the Braves of the 90s. And I really rooted for the Braves of the 90s. They only won 1 world championship, and they should have had 3 or 4. Yeah, in that 90s, that roster has Hall of Famers.
They went stacked 4 years in a row, I think, to the 3 or 4.
I think they went 4. In a row, and they only won one of them.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll ever see a better pitching staff in my mind with Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. Like, that was absurd. Absolutely.
And don't forget Avery.
Avery was really good too. He's not a Hall of Famer. That's why I didn't include him. But in his time, yes, he was really good. Smooth lefty for sure. You had the 2 lefties with Avery and Glavine, and then you had the 2 righties with Smoltz and Maddox. Smoltz and Maddox for sure is argued as one of the best ever. Smoltz is up there. He's not in the conversation per se, but he's up there for his time.
Smoltz and Glavine are Hall of Famers. Maddox is an all-time great. Like, you could probably have a conversation that he's. I think if you had a conversation, he's one of the best pitchers of all time. I think there's an argument to be made there.
My two top pitchers for me, and Maddox is a little bit biased because I was such a huge fan growing up, but I love Bob Gibson and Maddox. Those are kind of my 2 dudes all time. So
Curt Schilling, Ubaldo Jimenez. I liked Ubaldo because I grew up with him with the Sky Sox. Like, he wasn't a great pitcher, but I grew up with him. I watched him from the start. I liked what he did.
This guy.
I have to say.
Look.
Listen, I didn't say I had a good fucking take, Pinky. But I loved Ubaldo, and Curt Schilling is a fucking baller.
Like, I got nothing against that. I'm just I'm just going to give you a little word of advice. Next time you throw out something like that, just clarify it before you say it. These are my favorites because we're sitting here talking about all-time greats.
I'm not saying these are, but I mean, these are my favorites because of what I've seen them do. That's it.
Schilling's all-time great, and he's been blackballed because of his political views.
Absolutely.
So he's a little nutty.
Is nowhere near an all-time great, but he's a favorite player.
I don't hate those. I mean, you want to throw Pedro up there?
Could you guess my two favorites?
No. Probably Goose.
I think Caleb could guess at least one of my two favorites.
I would put Goose. I would guess Goose.
No, I've got a Goose signed ball, but no, not Goose.
Really?
Are you a Randy Johnson guy?
Randy Johnson's one of them.
And
how, like...
Oh, you know it, buddy. You know. He's the Bob Gibson of our era.
Are you going Pedro?
No.
Who?
Nolan Ryan, baby.
Okay. I that's kind of where I was leaning, but then you said of our era, so it threw me off.
I mean, he played for like 5 eras.
Nolan Ryan to me is more 70s, 80s. But he was 60s, 70s, 80s, not like crazy career.
That guy played forever.
Yeah.
He's got records that'll never be touched.
Absolutely, he does.
That guy was amazing. And my third is Roger Clemens.
That was going to be my other guess, but then you said our era, and it threw me off. So, because I wouldn't say Roger Clemens is the Bob Gibson of our era. So, so you threw me off, and I went two different ways where I was thinking of the guys already. So, but yeah, all greats, no doubt. So, with that being said, the guys we expected to show up in the bright lights haven't. However, Yankees are up 5-4 right now, bottom of the 5th. You know, there's still, if the Yankees win this game, there could still be time for the Stars to shine. If LA wins tonight, the Stars did not shine. Freddie Freeman runs away with the MVP and case is closed.
I mean, this thing is done. I don't see the Yankees winning 4 straight. Like,
no way.
The Dodgers would have to just implode. Could it happen? It could happen.
It's not about the Dodgers imploding. It's that the Yankees have enough bats that they can get hot and put more runs up than the Dodgers. You could see 7-5, 8-5 games very easily. So it's not like the Dodgers would implode. They just wouldn't be able to get as hot as the Yankees did. So I still see a path for both teams to do really good things. I said this morning, I think it feels like a sweep is coming. But Yankees are putting up a fight tonight.
As they should.
But how much sweeter would it be if the Dodgers win in LA?
I don't know. I think I'd rather see him win at home if they're going to win.
That's what he said in LA. Yeah. The Dodgers winning in LA versus winning in New York.
I know. I'm just sorry. That came out wrong. I'm kind of going back and forth here, though, because what I was going to say is, but they were the Brooklyn Dodgers before anything. So them winning in New York could have quite the appeal as well. So, I mean,
feel like
you know,
need to win in LA.
They knock out the New York Mets, then you beat the Yankees, and you're formerly the Brooklyn Dodgers. You could almost claim supremacy over New York. Like, that's kind of a cool storyline as well. So
beat the Mets, beat the Yankees. They're the Kings of New York.
Yeah, so there's some storylines for sure. But, you know, a couple more innings, we're going to have a much more clear picture of where we're at. But, Robert, absolutely right when you say the Stars have not shined.
We will know before the podcast is done.
This is funny to say, but this has been like the World Series of underdogs all of a sudden. And I think it's quite interesting to watch because the main people you're watching, you don't give a fuck about because they're not doing shit. They haven't done anything this postseason.
I mean, to an extent, yes. But, you know, I talked about it before. It's Ohtani, Judge, but their supporting cast by no means are lackluster. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Walker Buehler pitching. Then you go over to the Yankees, Juan Carlos Stanton, Juan Soto, Garrett Cole. This is not – it's far from Judge, Ohtani, and then a bunch of people around them. This is
you couldn't
two
call it a
teams
Judge
loaded with
Ohtani World
MVP
Series
caliber
anyways.
talent.
You couldn't call it a Judge Ohtani series anyway because they haven't really done shit in the postseason to make it worthwhile to talk about.
I mean, yeah, but
you're not wrong.
I'm just saying these two teams didn't make it here because of those guys. They made it because they're stacked with all-stars.
You could remove Ohtani from the Dodgers. I still think they could make it to the World Series. You remove Aaron Judge from the Yankees, I don't think they make it, but they still have a lot of other guys there that it's not like removing your quarterback in football.
I mean,
like,
Juan
you
Soto,
could remove some of these guys.
For those that may not remember, has a World Series with the Nationals, and he carried that team as a 20-year-old rookie, if I remember correctly.
Dude, he got so hot in that playoff.
Yeah, dude. So you remove Judge, and they still have a superstar. That's kind of what I'm getting at. These teams are still very much loaded, regardless of the top two dudes. So, for the casual fan, yes, it's the Ohtani Judge show, and they're failing. For baseball fans, these rosters are stacked, and it's fun watching other guys step up that you kind of, thought should and have. So a lot of storylines. I mean, we could keep going, but I don't think we necessarily need to spend any more time on the subject.
No, we don't need to.
We'll come back.
It live. We'll come back to it in
we'll come back when the game is done. All right, where you want to go, Caleb?
I got a basketball question for you.
Okay.
And we're very aware where I stand on this topic, and I'll reiterate it in a moment, but I'll let you guys discuss first. Robert may not have anything to say, but we'll still throw it out there. Is it safe to say Doc Rivers is done as an NBA coach?
I mean, with Doc Rivers being the Bucks coach right now, I would absolutely say yes, because he's not doing anything to further the company. He's not doing anything to further the team. They're kind of stuck in where they're at right now, which, as we've already discussed, we don't talk about the Rockies. That has been made very clear. So with the Bucks, it's kind of the same situation. You're not doing anything better for your organization. You need to make some decisions, and unfortunately, he's not the person to be making those decisions, and he needs to. It's done. Period.
It's definitely not a good look right now with the Bucks. I don't know if coaching is the issue. I still think that, again, getting rid of, I think you mentioned it last year, getting rid of Jrue Holiday, who's arguably their best defender at the time, and bringing in Dame, who doesn't play defense at all, as Dame is been pretty spotty. Some nights he's on, and some nights he's not. And then when he's not on, he doesn't play defense, so he's not. It's not a two-way player. They're not the same team they were when they won the championship a couple years ago. And I can't say I blame that on Doc because he wasn't the one moving the pieces around. I just don't know if he's a good enough coach to bring the team together to play cohesive team basketball around Giannis.
About a lot of in football, having the locker room and things like that. Doc Rivers doesn't have a locker room. He's a face. And that's it. But he's nothing more than that.
He looks overwhelmed.
It looks like the job's too much for him.
Then I think you answered the question with that comment right there. Look, I'm going to take it a step further. I am now on the fence of, I always said he's a good coach, not a great coach. And he's not somebody you bring in if you want your team to go to the next level. I've been very clear on that since he was a Clippers coach. I'm now on the fence that I'm not even sure if he's a good coach anymore. Mm-mm. When you go back and look at the teams he had and the talent he had on all of those teams, and by all accounts failed miserably because the only team that reached the standard was the Celtics, And let's be honest, the way in which they did that was a loaded veteran badass roster, minus Paul Pierce. I'm not going to go down that road though. But you bring in Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, and it completely sets you up for success on many different levels. He had Chris Paul in LA. They had some shots. They definitely had talent. Failed epically. This is the only coach to blow multiple 3-0 series leads. He went to Philadelphia. Failed miserably. Now he's in Milwaukee. In my mind, failing miserably. Now, Pinky brings up a point where there is a lot of different things going on with moving pieces. Philadelphia saw it. He's now seen it in Milwaukee. So, yeah, I mean, the way Milwaukee changed their roster, it wasn't that they needed more offense. It's that they needed to replace Chris Middleton, who was
always hurt.
He was the Robin to Giannis's Batman. When you lose your second scorer, you need to look at replacing it, not bringing in another scorer. You changed your chemistry and it ruined it. But then bringing in the coach didn't help. The coach they fired was like 30-13 when they let him go. Then you bring in Doc Rivers and he's not done well. So it's not just, is he a good or great coach anymore? To me, it's, is he an average or good coach now? And that is, fair. From what people were talking about previously as an all-time great coach, I can't imagine him being anywhere near that conversation. And anybody that wants to have that, it would be hard for me to listen to because there's not going to be any stats or facts for you to back that up.
Boys, I just want to let you guys know I will be switching to my tablet at some point. This laptop's going to die. So it's going to happen at some point.
You should probably just find the charger.
I feel like that's
the charger was left at work. So there's no charger to charge this laptop.
That's a problem.
So what, bitch? Anyway, that's what I just heard.
Could try this. Let's see.
Now we're getting creative.
The other thing I want to bring up real quick with the NBA
work.
is
Lame.
How we feeling about Mr. JJ Redick right now?
I don't know. Sample size is probably still a little too small to mention anything, but like they're 3-1. They're playing well, but they've played well for stretches. It's normally like as they get into the grind, and you're relying on a 40-some-year-old LeBron and a somewhat breaking down Anthony Davis.
Wait. He has a nasal issue.
I don't get that reference at all. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's LeBron's reason for not performing well, is that he has a nasal problem.
Oh, for last night?
Yeah.
I mean, they're 3-1. I mean, I think they're fine right now.
Talking about his field goal percentage being the lowest that it's ever been career-wise.
I think it's the lowest since like 2009.
Which
24% for the game, I think, if I remember seeing the stat correctly. It was a bad game for him. But
and I mean, I don't know much about basketball, but I feel like a nasal issue, I mean, shouldn't impact your game that much at this point. If you're still playing at that level, quote unquote, that you're claiming, I feel like it's bullshit.
There's going to be some games here and there. When you are 40, 41?
Almost 41. December he turns 41, I think.
He's almost 41 years old. There are going to be a couple games here and there that his body, like he's going through the motions. His body's not doing what it used to do. It's going to happen.
I will say, depending on the type of nasal issue, it can mess with your eyes too. And if your eyes are off even a little bit,
it can mess with your breathing as well.
You're completely thrown off. So it's probably not something I would have mentioned out loud, and I would have just said I had a bad night.
Yeah,
but, you know,
you would have been a man and said, "I had a bad night. I've got to play better. I let my team down. I'll be better." You'd have left it at that.
You're coming at a person who plays soccer and respects people that play soccer. Cristiano Ronaldo is the same age as LeBron. And I'm sorry, if you're not going to perform at your best while you have a nasal issue when Cristiano Ronaldo has performed worse at some of this shit,
look,
I don't know if I can really.
Cristiano Ronaldo has had some duds in the very recent past.
Sure, but he's still performing at almost elite level.
LeBron is performing at an MVP level still. So one off night with a nasal issue, I'm not going to discount when he plays 82 games a season and Ronaldo's playing 30. And I love Ronaldo.
LeBron's not playing 90 minutes fully.
Dude, as someone who played both sports at a high level, playing a full basketball game is more taxing than playing a full soccer game. There are natural breaks that you can relax, especially as a striker within a soccer game, where you don't have to exert a whole lot of effort for a long stretch of period of time.
But as
if he was a midfielder like Messi, I might give it more credibility.
But as a common theme on this podcast, domination does exist. So I will just throw that out there.
Look,
I don't see fucking
you
Ronaldo
can't
being a
no that
fucking
Ronaldo
bitch.
Doesn't equal dominance. He's playing over in the Saudi Arabia league. He's been left off his own national roster multiple times. That's not dominance, my guy.
Look, I know for a fact I am not a LeBron guy. We all know it. He just had an off night. I ain't gonna worry about it. It's one game. Becomes an issue some more, then it's something to talk about. Exactly.
That's the point of it.
Who just hit that? Knack? Knack's pitching. Who just hit that? Is that Austin Wells just cranked another homer for the Yankees, up 6-4.
I'm not watching it, so I don't know. I'm paying attention to the Nuggets.
Ugh. I don't even want to have that conversation right now.
We're not having that conversation, but we're in overtime, so let's go.
So this is why I brought up JJ Redick, though. I am willing to eat crow immediately right now after only 4 games and say I thought he would be a great coach in a terrible situation, and it might cost him. I think I might have underestimated how great of a coach he is, in the sense that based on what I've heard him say already and the way I'm seeing Anthony Davis play to start the season, this might be a much better situation than I had anticipated.
And I expect him to be all right throughout the season, but we're 4 games in. There's a lot of time for LeBron's ankle to come up and Anthony Davis's back to come up. So let's give it some time first.
Just saying, Binky, you know me. I can usually tell pretty early if things are different than what I felt or if I am right on par, and I don't mind jumping off right away.
I'm a JJ guy. I love JJ. I love his takes. I love his views on basketball. I love his attitude. I'm rooting for the guy. It's only been 4 games. The Lakers have been good. In previous seasons, they've started out pretty good. We've got to give this some time to marinate and see where it goes.
I'm just saying I see the little things that I really liking. And look, I said I didn't like the Nathaniel Hackett hire for the Broncos. And after the first drive, I said we're screwed. And people tried to bite my head off. And I'm not saying I'm always right by any means, but I'm saying when I see certain things and I feel like I can call it, I'm not going to wait or say it's only been a small sample size. Like, you can extrapolate things enough and kind of get a feel for where
I think you'll still be right. He's going to be a really good coach in a bad situation. Because again, relying on Anthony Davis to stay healthy all year and LeBron to stay healthy all year is a tough ask.
It is. You're absolutely right.
All right. We're college football. College football? Yeah. All right. Hey, guys.
Go ahead, and I have nothing to say.
Let's go, boys. Top 5. Let's go.
They're looking good.
We've gotten quite a few miracles. We have. We're still top 5, though. Let's go.
Sometimes you just got to make sure you're winning. Doesn't matter how.
Better be lucky than good sometimes.
Absolutely. And look, Ward's playing great.
That's what sucks.
I saw a stat the other day that through the first 7 games, he is slightly ahead of Jaden Daniels' pace from last year. Now, I don't think it's
Not
quite
the
as
rushing, though.
impressive.
Not the rushing, though. Jay Daniels' rushing last year was pretty epic.
I don't remember if the stat included the rushing.
I think it's just passing.
Yards, touchdowns,
because Ward doesn't run a whole lot.
I don't think it was the rushing, but
he doesn't run that much. He runs
regardless,
a little bit.
He's still slightly ahead of pace, but I think he's doing it with a slightly more talented roster, and he's doing it with a slightly weaker schedule. So context, I think that's.
I know I'm watching the Nuggets game.
It's an all right comparison,
Dude.
but I will maintain that he is not the best quarterback in college football. And what is happening here, I believe, is you'll see Miami in the playoffs. I don't see how they're not at this point.
They got 80% chance to make.
They'll win the ACC. What they're looking for is one of those first round buys right now. Which
I don't know if they win the ACC. I don't know if they beat Clemson.
I think Clemson is still overrated. I'm not seeing a great football team from Clemson right now. But Miami has definitely shown moments of, how do I want to say this? Forgetting they're playing football and allowed situations to happen that should have never even been a possibility.
I will say, Mark, if there was if you watch Good Morning Football every Tuesday, Kyle Brandt does Angry Runs. If you YouTube any segment of that show, YouTube Angry Runs. It's fantastic. If there was an Angry Runs for college football, Martinez from Miami would be on it multiple times. That guy has had some crazy Angry Runs. And that's what's kept us in games. But again, I don't think we're going to do anything in the playoffs, but it's nice that we'll be there.
So Cam Ward is in a Heisman conversation. I'm flipping again, and I'm probably going to do this maybe every week until we get to the end of the season. Genty's had 2 down weeks, and he's no longer on pace to break the record.
What's crazy? Over 100 yards and a touchdown is still a down
well,
week for that.
I don't mean it in terms of him per se. I mean it in terms of breaking Barry Sanders' record.
Right.
And to me, that was the only way he won the Heisman, is if he breaks that record. 2,000 yards doesn't get it for me with what you have from some of the quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel, and I'm going to bring up another name in here in a second.
And their exposure, right? They're playing big games, the exposure.
Exactly.
Genty doesn't have that.
And I know I said Travis Hunter probably can't get back in it because he missed a game. However, he came out the last game. He had 4 pass breakups. I can't remember what the other stat was on defense. Over 100 yards, 8 catches, and a tud. And if you watch it, I know a lot of people like to say, well, he's not a route runner.
They're not watching.
You're not watching the dude play
They're
football.
not watching.
Because he put a couple dude on skates in that last game.
Dude, his hands are ridiculous.
So good. So good.
Ridiculous.
So
I cannot wait to see him in the NFL.
PFF has graded Travis Hunter up to this point in the season. He is the 8th best wide receiver in the nation, and he is the 8th best cornerback in the nation. How do you not give the Heisman to the dude who's in the top 10 at 2 different positions in the game?
Right.
The definition of Heisman is the best college football player. Nobody right now is doing anything close to what Travis Hunter is doing on the football field.
And he has gotten Colorado into a bowl game.
Yes. But the other name I'm throwing in there now, and he is now being mentioned as a dark horse candidate, and if he doesn't get an invite to New York and continues on this pace, it will be an epic failure on a part of the Heisman committee, and that's Shedeur Sanders. He is playing phenomenal football. And I'm sorry, if you are saying any other quarterback in college football is better than Shedeur Sanders, I don't understand how. Because if you put him on Texas in place of Quinn Ewers, if you put him in Alabama in place of Milroe, if you put him in place of Cam Ward in Miami, if you put him in place of Dylan Gabriel in Oregon, he is putting up all the same numbers, if not better, and he's putting up those numbers equal to all those guys, and he's doing it at Colorado with Travis Hunter and nobody else.
Caleb, it's all about perception. and people do not like his attitude. His attitude is not the best.
People hate confidence.
They do.
People like to call confidence cocky because they can't match it. When you can match your play to your talk or your talk to your play, it is not cocky. It is confidence. When you have supreme self-confidence and you can back up what you say on the field, I cannot label that as cocky. I cannot.
So then how is Dylan Raiola feeling right about now?
A freshman playing good ball for a freshman.
The biggest thing to remember about Dylan Raiola, who actually took Ohio State to the limits, he's a freshman. And not just a like there's freshmen who, because you can redshirt, and there's a true freshman. He is a true freshman. I'm giving him tons of credit. He's got lots of room to grow. He looked good in that game. And then there were moments you were like, he's kind of what you would call a rookie. Like he's a rookie.
He also has, I mean, if you're I wasn't even going to talk about Nebraska, but you want to bring it up. They have an offensive play caller right now in Satterfield who's playing checkers, not chess. And he's got a very predictable game plan and play calling. That's stunting the growth of the freshman. And you also don't have a Travis Hunter to throw the ball to. Their best receiver is another freshman. So your two best players on offense are freshmen. There's going to be growing pains to begin with.
So
then when your offensive play caller isn't putting you in position to be successful, it makes it look even worse.
There's one thing I don't like about Raiola, and it has nothing to do about his play on the field.
His Mahomes thing?
I don't like him attaching himself to that. I know he's really leaned into that, and that's what I don't like, because again, that just gives people that when you don't play well and you've attached yourself to I'm Mahomes 2.0, you're bringing on that criticism on yourself.
So,
and he could do without that. He doesn't need that.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think, though, not enough people are doing the research. He's had the same haircut since he was a freshman in high school. So basically the same time Mahomes came out with the haircut, he was rocking the haircut. He doesn't wear 15 because of Mahomes. He wears 15 because of Tebow. The running to the end zone and doing the jump, I got no justification for. He stole that straight from Mahomes. But the greatest form of flattery is... No? Nobody's familiar with this phrase?
I've been drinking. I mean, help me out.
Acting as someone else, doing the same thing as somebody else is the greatest form of flattery. So Mahomes should just take it as a compliment and move along.
Mahomes loves it. Mahomes is eating it
up. After they lost to Illinois, he said, that's enough. He said, all right, cut it out. And the week before, he was saying, what's up, little cuzzo? So Mahomes is flip-flop on it too. But look, my thing is plenty of people have come up and emulated what Jordan did and the whole idea of what they did. When you're great, people are going to take things from you to emulate that greatness.
I know Robert was trying to poke you a little bit. I will tell you, I like Raiola. That dude can sling it. He makes some mistakes. He's a rookie. He doesn't have all the talent around him. Like, when he does, hopefully Nebraska does have that talent before he leaves, because he won't be there long. And he's gonna do great things.
The thing I've been most impressed about with Raiola is, one, is leadership. I think that's kind of just a given, though. Like, outside the conversation, if we're just talking about his play on the field, his leadership as a freshman has been incredible for that team. But his touch is insanely good as a freshman, and the way he can mix up his arm angles and his velocity. So I was not expecting it to be as good as what I've seen.
I know we're still helping educate you, Robert. There are not many times a true freshman comes in and plays this well in college football. They typically sit for a while before they get to this point. He didn't sit. He's played day one. And that is very rare in college football.
And I'm not discrediting that by any means. What I guess my crux at poking at the bear is that is Nebraska still the dark horse Caleb fucking predicted at the beginning of the season?
I've already said they
Absolutely
weren't.
not.
I already said they weren't. Like that was 2 weeks ago that I said they were off that boat. So
I wouldn't go that far. But
So they lost. They lost some
I
games.
said I was wrong. I totally said I was wrong. I've been hyping up Indiana for the last couple of weeks. Said I didn't see that coming. Signetti is a beast.
I want to talk about it.
Signetti is a beast. That guy's coaching his ass
Google
off.
him, okay? Google the man because he's absolutely right. He wins.
Well, what happened to Pinky?
He died. I'm sure.
Cool. Rest in peace.
So yeah, I picked him as my dark horse. I picked him because the defense, which has still been really good, but they flopped against Indiana. That cost them. And I said if the quarterback plays without turning the ball over, they have a shot. They did, but they've fallen a little short. And I said that. Like, I was wrong. No big deal. And I said I didn't want to pick them as my dark horse to begin with. I just didn't see anybody else coming out of the woodworks like Indiana did. And Indiana right now, man, they are.
Do you know who
so
Indiana
good.
plays this weekend?
Ohio State, don't they?
Nope.
Michigan State?
Yep.
Oh, you're screwed.
I'm fucked.
That's going to get ugly real quick.
Pinky,
real quick.
I feel like you need to remember your charger and be a better man.
So
Bro,
we'll see. Nebraska
That's not me.
has
That's
some
my wife.
work to do.
It's your responsibility.
So Heisman back on Travis Hunter bandwagon. Just cannot believe what he's doing. And I fully believe if Shedeur continues this pace and he doesn't get an invite to New York, it is a slap in the face to him. And it will only be because they want to keep Dion out, basically, because Shedeur is playing phenomenal football.
He's fighting an uphill battle because he's got Dylan, he's got Cam, he's got Genty, he's got Travis Hunter. He's fighting up, but still a couple more games to put that stamp on it.
Absolutely. So I'm stoked to see where the college football season progresses from here, what Indiana can do. I talked last week about the epicness of what could happen with Army-Navy. Navy got smoked by Notre Dame, so we won't see that happen.
Nah, man.
They do play Army still. Army was the better of the two teams between Army and Navy this year. Army still has a shot to do something and sneak their way in, but it is a long shot at this point.
They've both played really, really well this season for Service Academy. So
I would say they played really well for any Power 5, not just the Service Academy.
I mean, but nobody expects anything from Service Academy. So they've played above.
Not since the 40s.
Like, I really wish this would be a year I wish I won tickets to go see Army Navy. That'd be fun. They're playing they're playing at the Redskins Stadium.
This year it's in the DMV. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be a fun game to go to.
We talk about that every year. I bring it up every year. First week in December, usually the same day as the Heisman ceremony, I believe. It's their game, and it's the pageantry of it alone is everything. So we'll see what happens. Indiana is the story right now. Colorado could be a story if they win the Big 12. That could be pretty epic as well. And then you got your big dogs. I think Ohio State is insanely overrated. Not sure Ryan Day is a good coach anymore. There's just so much talent on that team. It's hard to fail. What Dan Lanning is doing in Oregon, he very well could be building the new Alabama. He is a Saban disciple of sorts. So not incredibly unsurprising. Michigan fall off, I think, is epic. And I don't see them getting back anytime
won that
soon.
Game on Saturday. I'm so fucking pissed about it.
Little brother doing little brother things, my guy.
Fuck you, Caleb. That's all I have to fucking say is sit on it and twist, motherfucker.
Man, this guy.
Oh, goodness.
Fuck you.
So, yeah, November's coming up. Things will start heating up very quickly because then we only have basically 4 weeks left. So, let's see how these final games play out because it means a lot to a lot of people. Colorado bowl eligible, good for them. Nebraska looking to be a bowl eligible.
You guys are bowl eligible, aren't you?
5-3. 5-3. We got one more win.
You're gonna win one more. You're gonna win more, at least.
I would like to think so, but I'm not trying to get too excited. There's still some things going on, specifically the offensive play calling that I am insanely nervous about. Like I said, for any team, if your offensive coordinator is playing checkers and not chess, it's going to be real hard to win games. So,
Bruce. Nuggets pulled it off.
OT. I will say, we got to mention, this is definitely in Joker's 29, 18, and 16. That's pretty insane.
Look, here's the deal. Real quick. If he continues on this pace for the season, he is the MVP, and he will not be given the award.
He's dude. I don't. If he averaged a triple-double, I still don't think he would get the award.
He won't. The voters will not. I assure you. I will put money on it. I'll put my life savings on it, my year's salary, whatever you want to throw on it. There is zero chance the voters will give it to him, no matter how deserving he is. If he carries this team to a playoff berth right now and averages those numbers, he is the MVP. And he's showing everybody right now, regardless of what you want to say, whoever else you want to put up there. I've said before, there's a lot of young talent in the league, and the league is in great hands. He is the best player in the game right now, and there's no questions about it.
If the Nuggets didn't have him, they would be complete dog shit.
Oh, yeah.
Dog shit.
They'd be a lottery team.
Actually,
based on what's happening right now, they would be a lottery team.
I mean, if there was a really good guy coming out and he got hurt and he spent the season on IR and then we got that lottery pick, that might not be bad. But
there's a bunch of really good dudes coming out, actually. There's 3 or 4 dudes right now who could be crazy. Cooper Flagg is the creme de la creme, and I've been talking about him for years now, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Right. There's some other storylines I'm keeping a close eye on with NBA based on our insiders' takes that are already not looking too great.
Speaking of insider takes, I have some questions after this about this whole fucking fantasy thing. So
it's early.
We'll convene later after this.
It's early. All right. NFL talk. We are kind of at the halfway mark. We're 8 weeks
since there's no true halfway mark anymore. This is basically it.
What did you want to talk about, Caleb? You wanted to talk? Was it awards? Was it trade deadline?
I want to do a trade deadline rundown because by the time we get on next week, it's so close to the deadline at that point that moves could still happen. But I want us to be a little bit ahead of that conversation rather than behind it.
The Lions need to make a fucking move. Period.
So
I don't
there's
care.
A problem.
They're crushing it, but they need someone.
There's a problem with that, Robert. They need someone to be a seller.
And
what they want to buy, nobody's really selling. That's the kicker.
And that's the fucking bullshit part of it, but the Lions are still showing up and being
what happens every year at the trade deadline, Caleb?
Nothing.
Bingo! We got a bingo!
Listen, I want the Lions to just fucking blow shit up this season.
Look.
Period.
But things have heated up a little more than I would say even you expected them to, Pinky.
Well, yes, there's been a lot of movement early, which is good. Robert, for your Lions, they need to start looking at teams that might need to move a guy. Look, the Raiders should move Max Crosby.
Oh, 100%. And
the Browns should move Myles Garrett.
Absolutely.
Those two moves should happen.
Absolutely. There are so many players that need to be moved right now, it's not even funny. To get to a point where they are not only showcasing their talent, but showing a winning mentality. And the fact that Max Crosby is still sticking with the Raiders is honestly atrocious. I honestly find it disgusting.
He's the face of their franchise, so it's hard for them. It's hard for them to move that guy. If you go watch a Raiders game, the only reason you watch right now is Max Crosby.
I mean, if I'm being honest right now, I think they've got the idea in their head that they're getting Shedeur Sanders and Max Crosby can be viable again starting next season. Like, that's honestly what I think their mindset is at this point.
Deion's not letting that happen, and all three of us know it.
That's the one team I think he would let him. That's the one team I think he would let him go to.
No
Deion would let his boy go play for the Raiders. I fully believe that.
I don't believe it. Not one bit.
Cleveland? Hell no. The Giants? Daboll, the Mora family, they're not bad by any means. The Mannings were okay with that situation. I think Deion would be too, so that one's interesting. Carolina? Hell no.
He's not playing for Carolina.
You know, you start looking around at some of the other pieces, they don't necessarily need quarterbacks that are at the bottom. So Raiders seem to be the most viable option in that situation.
He's going somewhere. I think he had Cowboys and Chicago on his list. Obviously, they're not. They just paid Dak, and Chicago's got Caleb, so they're not drafting him.
Dak's stats this season are so good.
Tennessee, I think, is interesting because their ownership has never been known as bad. The head coach seems to be well liked, so Tennessee could be interesting. Nashville, it's going to be interesting when the draft comes. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, Max Crosby's not going anywhere. Myles Garrett isn't going anywhere.
Look, the Lions need to call the Broncos on Jonathan Cooper or Baron Browning.
Those would be viable options.
Their contracts are ending. You're going to have to pay them.
I'm drawing a blank on the name all of a sudden, Pinky. Oh, shoot. He was a former Packer. I believe he's with the Browns now.
Za'Darius Smith.
Thank you. Za'Darius Smith. I think that might be a viable option.
That's a viable option.
And it's not your 1A guy, but maybe a B or a C, but still more than what they have now.
If you were the Lions, you should be all in right now. The roster is that good. What is your 4th round pick and 6th round pick going to get you?
Exactly.
Right? Go get a Za'Darius Smith. Go get a Baron Browning or Jonathan Cooper. Probably Baron Browning. I don't think the Broncos want to give up Cooper, but Baron Browning. And you've got 2 guys that are rentals. If they play really well, you sign them and give them money. If they don't, at least they tried to help you win a championship, right?
Listen, I'll be honest. Like, even right now, the Lions, as it stands, look better than the fucking Chiefs do.
That Chiefs defense is legit. It's legit.
It's legit, but I still feel like the Lions would have an answer for it.
When you look at a complete team, offense, defense, special teams, Lions are probably the better overall team. But that Chiefs defense is on another level.
And they still have Patrick Mahomes. Regardless of how he's playing now.
Wait, hang on. You said Mahomes, but I just want to make sure it was the refs that you said.
Dude, oh my God.
Okay, well, look. They've played a part. They have.
Ugh.
But at the end of the day, he does what he has to do to win.
I won't disagree with that, but the refs have a hand in it, and it really is getting fucking irritating.
Refs have a hand in everything. Every game, there's a ref issue.
I won't disagree with that, but it seems to be a little more favored in the Chiefs' favor, and it really pisses me the fuck off.
Yeah, I've never put stock in that in any shape, way, or form. I think it's a weak cop-out, so you'll never hear me talk about the refs. You didn't hear me mention how they blew the game for Nebraska.
I mean, they fucking blew the game for the fucking Buccaneers. Like, I will 110% agree with that. The Buccaneers got fucked on Sunday.
Raise your mic, man. Your mic is off again.
What I will continue to say is if you are a really good team in the history of sports, you are more likely to get the calls than not. It's just the nature of sports. So, look, everybody wanted to talk about the Patriots and how they got all the breaks. You want to go through history, you want to talk about breaks. I would say the ones that the Patriots have gotten are far and away greater than anything else that you could even possibly compare it to. There was a rule change in the NFL to protect quarterbacks because of the Patriots and Tom Brady. The tuck rule was invented, regardless of what the NFL wants to say and that it already existed, was invented to be what it is today because of the Patriots. Deflated footballs I could care less about. I think that was ridiculous to even talk about. Somebody wants to throw a deflated football over a fully pumped up football, I could give a shit less. More power to you. The Spygate thing, I still believe that many people have done it. And I don't believe that it was only the Patriots. So you start talking about things like that, I have a hard time feeling sorry one way or the other. So I don't discuss the refs. Many teams have had opportunities to win regardless of whatever calls the Chiefs got. The Bills should have won multiple times. Their head coach made some really bad decisions that cost them the game. So we'll see what happens. But like Pinky said, that Chiefs D is damn good. Damn good. That offense is going to do just enough to make sure they win a game.
There's not enough. Mahomes gets all the credit. That Chiefs team may be like 3-4 or 5 if it weren't for that defense. That defense is literally lights out.
And as far as I'm concerned, Spagnuolo is etching his name into the NFL history books as one of the greatest defensive coordinators ever.
He's definitely getting in the Hall of Fame. He's got 4 rings.
I don't think he gets enough credit as an all-time great D coordinator right now.
Okay. Was he part of that second Giants? I think he wasn't part of that second Giants.
Yeah, I think he was only part of one, and then he took a head coaching job. But yeah, and I hear Broncos fans talk about how the Broncos are definitely stealing one from the Chiefs, and I don't see how that's possible given the fact that twofold. One, the Broncos offense has not played a defense anywhere close to the Chiefs at this point in time.
Whoa. They've played some pretty good defenses along the way.
Who?
The Chiefs will still be the best one that they play.
Who?
Well, the Chargers are a top 5 defense right now. The Steelers are a top 5 defense right now. The Seahawks are a top 10 defense right now. So they haven't played tough good.
I'll give you the Chargers and Steelers, but they didn't win both of those games.
No, but they still showed a fucking.
So that's my point, though. They're not beating the Chiefs because that offense is not good enough to beat that defense. So I look at the Chiefs' remaining schedule and I say, outside of that Buffalo game, if the Chiefs get by that Buffalo game, I have a hard time believing they're not finishing the regular season undefeated. Now, they added, going back to the trade deadline conversation that we kind of got off of here, the Chiefs were buyers and they went out and got DeAndre Hopkins for nothing. I don't know how much that moves the needle, though. And that's going to be what's very interesting to see. Can DeAndre Hopkins come in and fill that Juju Smith-Schuster role, which he played really well in? Then that offense picks back up, and it was a great signing. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins still has that ability, though, to handle that role week in and week out.
DeAndre Hopkins still has the ability to catch a football on 3rd and 5 and get a first down. That he has, and that's what they need. They just got to move the chain.
That's fair. You're right. That's exactly what they need. Travis Kelce has played well the last couple of weeks. Can he continue that through the playoffs and the Super Bowl run? That's what will be interesting to see. Bills went and added Amari Cooper. Huge get. That's going to open up that offense even more and allow Keon Coleman, who has been rising the last couple of weeks, to shine even more. So I love the addition there. So the buyers there, Chiefs, Bills. There was one more, and I'm drawing a blank now. Who grabbed the other receiver before today? I feel like there was another one that I'm missing.
Well, Devontae.
Adams.
Yeah, it wasn't the one I was thinking of. Drawing a blank on what I was thinking about. Then Baltimore went and added Deontay Johnson today. great grab. I just don't think it was a necessary move. They needed to work on the defense more so than I think they did the offense.
Oh man.
So
Cheers on that, Caleb. We agree on that.
I'm not sure how much that moves the needle for Baltimore. They were already the top scoring offense or second scoring offense right now in the league. So adding another offensive piece doesn't necessarily move the needle for me in that regard. I think Seattle is someone who's interesting because they're not really a buyer in any particular way, but they don't quite have the pieces, I think, to truly be competitive this year. So what would they do outside of, I mean, maybe argue quarterback? There's not like there's a great quarterback on the market, and Geno Smith is playing at a top 10 level numbers-wise. The Packers are great. They don't need anything, but they need to be healthy, and they're having a hard time getting healthy right now. Who's another buyer out there?
I mean, I don't know of a lot of teams that are buyers.
I think that's probably all the buyers at this point. Now, sellers is another question because
Broncos need to get rid of some people and make some cap space.
They're going to have so much cap space next year. Cap space isn't the issue.
They're going to have $70 million, bro.
The issue is they have a lot of holes to fill and not as many draft picks to fill them with. So are they able to dip into the free agency market and bring those on? Maybe.
All right, hold on. The Broncos are in that weird position because they're at a spot right now where they could look to add a piece or two and help them possibly make a playoff run, or they could just sit with what they have, keep their draft picks, and wait till next year, right? They don't have to. They're in that limbo. They could be buyers. They could sell a few pieces. Baron Browning, to me, he's playing, but he's playing behind three dudes right now. Like they technically could let him. He's a free agent. They could trade him. I see them trading him before it's all said and done.
The Broncos should not be buyers. The only reason you should be a buyer is if you have a legit chance as a Super Bowl. And if the Broncos are being honest with themselves, they're not at that point yet.
No, they're not at that point. They're at the point of we could possibly, the way that it plays out, they could possibly make the playoffs. Matchup wise, if they beat the teams they should beat, they could make the playoffs.
They can, but that schedule coming up is brutal.
That's mathematically possible.
It is.
And then they, matchup wise, they possibly could win a wild card game. Dude. Other than that, they're not going further than that. They're not beating Baltimore. They're not beating Kansas City. They're not beating Buffalo in a playoff game. It's not happening.
The Broncos are losing the next 3.
They're winning one of those. They're winning one.
What are you
I don't know which
about?
one it is. They're winning one.
They're playing the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Falcons. You're bullshitting me, Pinky.
The Falcons is interesting only because Kirk Cousins only seems to show up against Tampa, which is crazy considering the amount of talent they have.
They barely beat Tampa, and Tampa has no wide receivers at this exact moment.
I know.
I don't believe the Broncos will beat Kirk Cousins.
Here's the deal.
To believe that.
If Denver was smart, they would find out, and honestly, I would be putting the Chiefs on the phone. And I would say, what's it going to take to move Sutton? We want picks. We want some cash. Here's Sutton. Go get your 3rd Super Bowl in a row. We don't give a shit because we're not competing with you right now. We don't care if it's in division. Sutton isn't a piece that's going to, long-term, you're going to regret moving on from at this stage in his career. But after what he did last week, he's shown that he's still got value.
Quit endorsing a 3-peat.
What could Sutton do with Lamar? Because Sutton's catch radius is a lot bigger than Deontay Johnson's. I'm just saying.
Ooh, Lamar. Ooh, that's a thought.
That's not happening now.
It would be interesting. Thought. But yeah, I would be on the phone shopping him 2 teams for the first guy who's going to give me, a 3rd or a 4th. And I would move on from Sutton at this point. The other team that I think should be a big seller, and they moved a piece today, but the piece they moved was a bit surprising, is Jacksonville and moving on from Cam Robinson. You don't usually move on from offensive linemen when you have a franchise quarterback.
Never.
So I'm I have no idea what Jacksonville is thinking or doing at this point in time. I am surprised Etienne hasn't been moved yet. I will be surprised if he doesn't get moved by the trade deadline. Dallas should be grabbing him. If Dallas still thinks they can compete for a Super Bowl this year, which I don't think they can, but you get Lawrence back, you get Parsons back, you add a piece like Etienne in the backfield, Dallas could look somewhat dangerous. That's a piece that they should be moving on from. I also thought they should be moving on from Christian Kirk, and that could be a nice little ad for a team that needed a wide receiver. He broke his collarbone, was it? Or his forearm, something. He broke something on his arm. So you're not trading him anymore. So God only knows what Jacksonville's doing. What I thought they should be selling, they haven't. And what they did sell made 0 sense. So that's an interesting piece. The other one that I think is really interesting, especially after the news today, is Indianapolis. Now, they are...
I'm tired.
They are technically still a playoff team, I believe. They're game out now.
They're in the picture.
Okay. Joe Flacco comes back in, and everybody on offense gets a boost.
Absolutely.
So they become viable again. They don't necessarily need wide receivers. They don't need a running back. They could add some defensive pieces to strengthen a unit that I thought would be better than what they're showing this year. It would not surprise me if you see Indiana as a buyer before the trade deadline on the defensive side of the ball.
You guys want to hear the current playoff schedule or playoff teams at the moment?
The Broncos play the Bills. I know that much.
Hold on. AFC, Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Bills, Broncos, Ravens, Chargers. Colts are on the bubble. Bengals, Dolphins, Browns, Raiders, Jaguars, Patriots, Jets, Titans. Nobody's eliminated at this point. Titans and Jets and Patriots are Jaguars and Raiders and Browns.
The Jets are still crazy interesting to me because while I don't think they're making the playoffs,
dude, the Jets suck.
I've seen enough flashes from Rodgers to where I'm still not completely out on him for this season. And they have so much talent still that I could easily see them get a heater and win 5 or 6 in a row. And then things get interesting.
Can anybody tell me the number 2 team in the NFC right now?
Isn't it not the Vikings?
No, they fell off. With
number 1 is the Lions,
2 wins.
Who we all root for. I'm rooting for the Lions. I got my Lions hat right now.
It's in my bedroom. I have my Broncos hat here. That's what I got.
It's not LA, is it?
Who is it, Pink?
LA's on the bubble. They're 3-4, bro.
I couldn't remember if they were 3-4 or 4-3. I was drawing a blank on that one.
The number 2 seed in the NFC right now is the Commanders.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Okay,
but that's not surprising to me.
No, not at all.
I already said it. I could easily see them mess around.
I forget the cornerback's name, but for the Bears, but he's getting his ass fucking split.
That was Jalen Johnson, I think. Wasn't Jalen Johnson.
What a moron.
Tyreek
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Falcons are 3rd at 5-3. Cardinals. Packers are also 6-2, but based on the Lions being so good, they're 5th. Vikings are 6th at 5-2. Eagles are 7th at 5-2. Then we got the Bears, the Bucks, the Niners, the Seahawks, all at 4-4. So right now, the NFC has the more stacked teams at the moment, which is unusual.
The 2 most interesting teams to me right now, I'll say 3. Storyline wise, I still think the Jets are super interesting because there's so much talent on that team. Do they figure it out? No, I don't think they do. I posted, I'll eat my crow. The experiment failed. But I'm still, to completely count them out with all that talent, I think would be foolish. But the two teams that I'm really interested about are the Bengals and the Niners. The Bengals and Niners have both had similar issues with injury. The Niners are far more devastated than the Bengals. But the Bengals still have a crazy talented roster, and the schedule lines up in such a way that they have an opportunity. The Niners are the same way, but they've got a lot of dudes out who are, by all accounts, going to start coming back here.
Yeah, the Bengals.
What those two teams can do can throw a wrench into a lot of other people's plans.
The problem the Bengals have is they have a very small margin for error at this point. They've got to win most of them.
Yeah. They have to go on a run just like the Jets. They're 3-5. The Jets are 2-6. Both of them have to go on like a 5 or 6 game win streak to even get back in the conversation. And if they don't do that, they're out. Dallas actually is very similar in that sense too. They have to put a couple together, and I don't see that happening.
Cowboys are 3-4. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Now, I said the Commanders could mess around and win the NFC East, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I also said Pittsburgh could mess around and win the AFC North, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm still on the side of the fence of Pittsburgh's fool's gold right now, because regardless of what people want to say about Russ, what I've seen from him is still insanely inconsistent, and he's a couple of insanely lucky plays away from losing last week. So,
dude, they only won by one score, and that's because Danny Jones fumbled and he threw an interception as they tried to go back down.
I mean, they really lost the Jets game. If you want to put it on one play, the ball off of Garrett Wilson's shoulder that was intercepted. Not to mention the George Pickens magical catch, the Freiermuth magical catch. So to think that Russ has all of a sudden saved this team and they're dangerous now, I think is an insane conversation to have. I think they're calling I am still so confused on why it seems to be a smarter offensive play calling for Russ than what they did for Justin Fields. I see a lot of easy throws that they're giving Russ that I didn't see Fields getting. But in Russ's defense, and I will say this, I'll eat a little crow, Russ has been making the throws that he needed to make when they're the easy ones. And Justin did have a little bit of trouble with some of those throws.
I will say a lot of his throws, he's gotten some miracle catches.
Yeah.
That touchdown he threw to Calvin Austin last night was money. Like, that was money. And I don't know if
Russ to fail still.
I don't have any ill will towards Russ. I watched the game and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, he hit the wide open guy there. Awesome. Oh wow, George Pickens made another crazy good catch. Like,
yeah.
I get it. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's back to Seattle Russ. I'm like, well, he's got guys that are catching the ball, whereas in Broncos led the league in drops. Like,
it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But people are going to have to start eating some crow on Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn's got that team playing. And that defense is getting a little bit better every week. So, you know, they're not the same old Commanders. You better bring it when you play the Commanders now. So, was there anything else from the games this last week we wanted to touch on?
Yeah, let's talk about the two big conversations. Robert's touched on both of them already. Let's start with the Bears and Washington. The Bears and Commanders.
Okay.
Yes, the player failed epically. He should have been – defensive play calling was atrocious, but they should have had somebody out so that Washington couldn't throw that 15-yard out. That allowed them the ability to then throw the Hail Mary. Stevenson was supposed to be the guy on McLaren for that play. He then was trash talking the crowd a second time on the very next play and should have been behind Noah Brown. He ended up being the guy that tipped the ball up so Noah Brown could catch it. It's a bad look. And you can blame the player all you want, and I will. But I will take it a step further and say that is on the coach. The coach sets the tone for the franchise initially. Eberflus is terrible. He is an awful head coach. And at this point in time, I don't even think he's a great defensive coordinator, which is what he's supposed to be known for.
I mean, they only gave up a Hail Mary got them to 18 points. They only gave up 18 points.
They did.
You should win that game. The
defense isn't playing bad. But when you put all that draft stock and capital and free agency into that defense like they have over the last 3 years, and you neglect the offense like we keep talking about, specifically the offensive line, when you have two young quarterbacks, it's a bad look. And that is to my second point. Ryan Poles is not a good GM. And I've gone back and forth on social media a little bit with Bears fans about this. Some agree, some don't. The ones that don't agree are always the loudest, right? But anybody, in my mind, that's a competent GM, you don't even have to be a good GM, just a competent GM could put together a good roster like Ryan Poles has when a team gifts you a wide receiver one and a couple firsts, which is what Carolina did.
And we've had that conversation. I would have told him, go to hell. I'm not giving you DJ Moore. It's not happening.
It's hard to fail when you have that kind of high-end draft capital and cap space to put into things. What blows my mind is the amount of capital they put into that defense when the modern game tells you you need to spend the capital on your offense first, specifically your offensive line if you have a young quarterback. The other thing you need to do is have a solid play caller. And I think they failed on that account twice. Getsy is terrible, and he's proving that again in Vegas. And I can't even remember the guy's name now that they brought in, but he's not doing them any favors either. They have a lot of skill position talent.
They brought Shane Waldron from Seattle.
That's right. They've got a lot of skill position talent. There should be no reason you have the duds that you had this season. Caleb Williams is a capable quarterback, regardless of what anybody wants to say. If Caleb Williams was with Washington right now and that offensive coordinator, I believe you would be seeing similar things to what Jaden Daniels is doing. So the Bears have failed on multiple levels, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Pinky, you look like you had the same reaction that I did, so I'll let you go ahead and respond first before I do.
What?
About the Caleb Williams being in Washington.
I mean, he would do okay. Cliff Kingsbury was his offensive coordinator last year. He would already know the offense. Like it'd be easy for Caleb Williams right now. Right now, football is hard for Caleb Williams right now. It is hard.
I think he's having eaten a lot of fucking shit that he was talking the preseason. And Caleb, you can shake your head, but he was talking mad shit to the punter about how many times he would have to punt, and he's already punted.
I'd talk mad shit to a punter too. I don't think they're a vital part of the game in any shape, way, or form.
Look,
debatable.
That's good. That's good hubris. Hey, you ain't gonna have to punt that much because we're gonna be scoring a lot.
They want to score for the first 3 weeks.
You want a guy with that kind of confidence, though, Robert.
Confidence, sure, but I want results too, motherfucker. Don't talk the talk if you can't walk the walk.
Look. Let's take a step back. He's a rookie. Rookies are going to do rookie things. Now, he might have come in with more confidence that he's awesome, and he's learning a tough lesson. Like, hey, you got to be better. And Caleb Williams. Look at his stat line. I didn't watch the game because I was at the Broncos game.
It was not good. 113 yards, I think, was his total.
I think it's 130. 131, 10 for 24.
I mean, let's be honest. On paper, if you put Chicago's offense against Washington's offense on paper before the season started, you would say Caleb Williams is in a better position.
Yes.
So then I have to say once again, what the fuck are the coaches doing? Because a coach's job is to put your talent in positions to succeed.
What have we always said though, Caleb? Coaching matters.
Cat does in football more than any other sport.
Coaching matters. I do think if Caleb was in Cliff Kingsbury's system right now, Caleb's really excited.
Yankees just hit a 3-run homer, bottom of the 8th. They are now up 10-4. Looks like we will get a game 5.
Yeah, I was about to just go look at it because I heard the TV go off because I have it on the other side.
Look, I've said it before.
I'm working on my situation, okay?
I've got a soft spot.
I can't enjoy both anymore.
I got a soft spot for the Yankees because my grandfather was a Yankees fan and my dad was a Yankees fan because of it. And so I'm not a Yankees fan, but I've never been a hate the evil empire kind of guy. And then me being the big history guy I am, and you guys know that, it's hard to dismiss the history that is the Yankees. So I'm not mad about it. I would love to see them come back and let's get a game 7, and then may the cards fall where they may.
Okay. Whew. All right. What else from last week? What else?
The Lions just fucking.
The other thing Robert touched on, you cannot. I don't care what your position is. I do not give a shit what your position is. But especially if you're the goddamn quarterback of the team, you do not tap your helmet to come out because you are out of breath. Anthony Richardson set himself back.
What a bitch!
a good year within that locker room. And I don't even care about his play on the field at this point in time. For all intents and purposes, he was kind of a rookie this year. He had a lot of growth still to do. He didn't get a lot of playing time at Florida. We all know that. There was a big learning curve still for him to take. So what he was doing on the field wasn't necessarily a surprise, but I still saw a lot of potential. He has put that all in jeopardy because of him taking one play off to catch his breath.
He will never play again.
Well, hold on.
He absolutely will.
Hold on. I don't think it's just that one play. I think it's that one play plus his poor play on top of that.
No. Don't get me wrong. That play allowed Indianapolis to finally say, we have an out to now put Joe Flacco back in. That gave them all the ammo they needed to say we're making a quarterback change. They were already on the fence because of them having a chance at the playoffs. That just gave them the last push to allow them to say, without anybody being upset about it, we're going to Joe Flacco.
And you might be surprised. I think this is the wrong decision.
Ooh. That does surprise me.
Why?
I do think Joe Flacco can take this team to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I do. They have enough talent. He could take them to the playoffs. I don't think they can do anything when they get to the playoffs.
That's fair.
You have a quarterback on a rookie deal that you put all this stock in, who you already know did not play a lot of college football. He needs to go through the shit and come out the other end. If he doesn't come out the other end, you suck, and you're going to be drafting another quarterback anyways. If Joe Flacco takes you to the playoffs and you win a game, maybe get to the divisional round, you're still drafting in the high 20s and you still have Anthony Richardson as your quarterback. Like, you're in a limbo spot if you are not playing Anthony Richardson. And I am not an Anthony Richardson guy.
No, you're not.
But you took that chance on him. If you're really willing to say, you know what, that was a mistake, and I know Shane Steichen didn't draft him. Oh wait, no, he did draft him. No, he did draft him.
That was the whole point. We saw what he did with Jalen Hurts, and we said, if anybody can take that, it's Steichen.
This is a mistake. You gotta play the kid. You gotta coach him up. You gotta go through those growing pains.
Cheers, Pinky, because I fully agree with you, but I did not think you were going to have that take.
I'm not a Richardson guy. I don't think he will come out the other side, but I think you have to let him play to learn. He just didn't play enough at Florida, and he's got all the athletic ability. He can throw it a mile. He can run. He needs to learn the game of football, and I'm gonna be honest. There's only so much of that you can learn on the bench.
Yep. And here's a crazy stat. And I wish, hang on, I might have this one. Wait, give me just a second here. I've tried to be better about this as we move forward. Yeah, I do. Okay. Through their first 10 career starts, Anthony Richardson and Josh Allen, 7 touchdown passes, 5 rushing touchdowns to 6 rushing touchdowns for Allen. Anthony Richardson only has 11 turnovers to Josh Allen's 13. Passer rating, Anthony Richardson, 68. Josh Allen, 64. Completion percentage, Richardson, 50. Josh Allen, 52. Win-loss, 5-5 for Richardson, 4-6 for Allen. If we're being completely honest, at that point in time in Josh Allen's career up into his second year, everybody was talking about him being a bust. His third year really started to change things around. That was 3 full years of him playing.
So the difference at the moment is the Bills played in a division with the Patriots, who ruled that division, and there wasn't the playoff expectation. So they didn't have that like fool's gold of we can make the playoffs. The Colts almost made the playoffs last year with Minshew.
Right.
They were in. If they beat the Texans, they're in the playoffs. This year with Joe Flacco, they have a guy that probably can get them to the playoffs.
But again, Pinky, to your point, what's it matter getting in the playoffs if you're not going to be dangerous in the playoffs? And secondly, everybody calling for Anthony Richardson as a bust already. Like, slow down a little bit. I'm not saying that it's necessarily out of the realm of possibility, okay? But slow down, because oftentimes, and too often, and I think Darnold might be a great example right now, if you give somebody the proper tools around them and you allow them to develop a little bit, good things can happen. You do have to be patient a little bit, especially when you take a young quarterback that is a project. If you're taking somebody based on raw talent, you have to be willing to go through those growing pains.
Let's be honest.
Right now, to Pinky's point, it looks like Indy doesn't want to do the growing pains.
What they should have done is started the season with Flacco, allowed Richardson to keep learning, and then come in later. It's man, I don't see Flacco being awful enough for them to pull him.
No.
And then what is Anthony Richardson learning?
And look, I'm going to be honest. It's not exactly the same, but it is similar to what Pittsburgh's doing with Russ and Justin Fields. The difference would be Pittsburgh could have a dark horse potential to get to a Super Bowl because of how great their defense is. Indy doesn't have that kind of defense by any means.
No.
So if you think Russ is head and shoulders above Justin Fields and can lead you that way, then you do have to make that move. But if you believe Justin Fields is going to be your future, you don't put Russ in. Not the way Justin Fields is playing, because he's not playing Anthony Richardson bad.
Because Justin Fields is learning more playing than he is sitting on the bench.
So some interesting quarterback decisions are being made around the league right now, and it's either going to blow up in people's faces or work out really well, and we're not going to know still until, end of December how that truly plays out. But Indy's in a really tough spot, Pinky. You said it perfectly. You're talking about, letting Richardson play, learn, and grow, and getting another high pick to put around him for next year if you're going to stick with him. Or you're looking at a later round pick because Flacco is going to have you in the playoff hunt. And at that point, is there the pieces that you want or need to fill in from that draft spot? So very interesting. But what Anthony Richardson did is going to take weeks to recover from in that locker room. And it's recoverable. You can admit that was a really stupid decision. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Guys, forgive me. It'll never happen again. Guys can move on from that if you show the right character behind closed doors. But it still takes a hit to your character. And when a quarterback takes a hit to their character, it can set a franchise back. And it's crazy that one little play like that, one little decision like that from Anthony Richardson can have such a ripple effect.
Yeah, for sure. Robert?
Listen, when you're playing in at a caliber of that level and you need a breath, I'm sorry. Like, you have not only lost the respect of your teammates, but the people who coach you and the entire fan base that follow you. Because at the end of the day, like, you played two plays? Not even? And you're saying you need to catch your breath? Like, I'm sorry. This is what you signed up for, and this is what you're getting paid for. And if this is going to be the expectation that you set as a quarterback to be a potential franchisee, I'm not picking you. Like, I want somebody that's personally playing like Love, who is playing through an injury.
I mean,
and showing up at the end of the day for those fucking boys. Like, like Anthony Richardson. I mean, I'm not gonna say it because we're on a live show, but he has lost a step in the professional world of athletes.
I mean,
he doesn't have the respect anymore.
It didn't help that he went 10 for 32 throwing the football.
That's the kicker. Now,
I mean,
if you want a devil's advocate, which we all know I'm great at, the silver lining for Colts fans, and Pinky has touched on this a couple times already, is that the dude hasn't played a lot of football. And so the idea and the thought process within a flow of a game of how you can catch your breath back after big runs and stuff, all he had to do was get on the mic in the headset and say, Coach, we need a couple running plays right now. I'm gassed. And he would have gotten on the field still those breaths that he needed. He doesn't have that maturity, that game sense yet, because he hasn't played a lot of football, to have the thought process of he's not thinking ahead. He's not seeing the next play or the next down yet. And because of that, his thought was, I'm gassed. I'm not where I need to be for the next play. Give me a breath. Where he could have gotten that breath within the flow of the game while still being on the field. So within a silver lining, you could say it's just immaturity as a football player that he can grow and learn from and be better for in the long run. So, it's a thought I had. Another reason why I wouldn't be out on the guy at all, why I would have, like Pinky said, continue to play him and use that as a very good learning opportunity for him. Game situation, time, downs, things of that nature, to help him grasp the bigger picture. But I'd be lying to everybody if I said it wasn't a bad look and I didn't go instantly like, oh, dude, you don't say that out loud. No.
Definitely not. Let's see. Look, I mean, last week, I think the game that I at least want to touch on is congrats to Crab Daddy coming in, putting the team on his back, getting that W. I just feel like the Ravens took the Browns for granted in this game. Their defense does suck, but
we said at the beginning of the year the Browns should have a top 5 defense. So it's not surprising to me that game went the way it did, because the Ravens don't have a good defense this year. And I think the bigger picture for anybody curious, if that didn't put a stamp on it for me, that Kevin Stefanski was forced to play Deshaun Watson from the top, I don't know what else did. Because there's no way in my mind that a 2-time coach of the year, right? He is a 2-time coach of the year.
He is.
Would be able to see in practice what we saw on the field and say, I'm sticking with Deshaun Watson. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. So the only thing I can believe is that his hand was forced and basically told, if you don't play Deshaun Watson, you're fired. And so being as good a coach as he is, he did everything possible to try and make that situation work. He now doesn't have to worry about that. And I fully believe we're going to see the Browns make the playoffs now. And the reason I say that is because we watched this whole thing, the exact same story last year. It was just Flacco instead of Winston. And Winston, I think, and Flacco are basically the same dude. They're not that different. Big arms. They can sling the ball. They're going to put up some yards. They're going to make some mistakes. But there's a ton of talent still on that Cleveland team. And that defense is super legit. So it would not surprise me at all if Cleveland goes on a run now and makes the playoffs with Jameis Winston as the starter.
Based on their remaining schedule, that would be a tall task, but it's possible. But it'd be a tall task. They're in a big hole.
Right they now. Are. I won't disagree. Look, and Broncos fans will hate me for this, but I fully believe if I had to put money on it, I would put money on Cleveland to make the playoffs over the Broncos. And that's simply because of the talent on the roster. Nick Chubb just came back. That defense is super legit. They do have weapons to throw to, and Jameis Winston can throw the ball. The Broncos have a rookie quarterback who has looked great. And Pinky and I said it was not a reach to take him. He's going to be a good quarterback, but he does not have weapons to throw the ball to. And while Denver's defense is good, it does not have the same caliber of players that Cleveland has.
But so, you could make the case they're playing better together as a team.
Absolutely. But you remove the thorn in the side that was Deshaun Watson, and that team can now rally behind their quarterback because they actually believe they have a chance to win.
Dude.
Boy, that changes everything.
Woo! That it does.
So
I actually enjoyed watching the Browns play football this week.
Look, I'm going to the Browns-Broncos game first week of December. I hope the Browns win a couple games so the game doesn't get flexed. It's on Monday night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Monday night football, Broncos-Browns, the only game in town. I'll be in a suite. Like, I want that as a night game. I do not want this game to get flexed. If the Browns lose a couple more games, it's like the 6-4 Broncos or 6-5 Broncos versus the 3-7 Browns, it's getting flexed. So I'm hoping that they do win a couple games, but we'll see. Winston played well. He's played poorly in the past. So we don't know what Winston we're going to get week to week. We'll see. We're running along. I probably need to close it up soon, but I wanted to ask right now, couple halfway awards. Who's coach of the year right now? Robert?
I again, we've been talking about it for weeks. The fact that as the head coach had to come out and say, he's still our starting quarterback, and then now to have this elite, I don't want to say elite, but this star quarterback come out, throw 3 touchdowns. Was it over 300 yards? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like, you could have been doing this for the last couple weeks. I won't say the whole season because you got to give Watson his flowers. He had to give his chance. But, like, the last couple of weeks, you could have been doing rather well. And having now a personal connection to the Browns through your family, Pinky, it is something that I do pay attention to, and it matters because at the end of the day, like, if the Browns can win, that's something, like, again, you're getting with the Lions. The Lions have sucked for years. I mean, for God's sakes, Zombieland, one of the greatest zombie movies of all time, literally makes a joke at the Browns taking them to the Super Bowl. Like, if the Browns can actually be good and play good and be professional, they're fun to watch. And if they beat the Broncos, great. Because as of right now, Pinky, the Broncos are tracking to win 6 games. So if they lose to the Browns, who fucking cares?
Did we lose Robert to his phone?
Here's the deal. Pinky, I'll give you the order right now. And this is going to surprise a lot of people, and I'll have to probably eat just a slight bit of crow on this one. But in my mind, it's Dan Snyder, then it's Dan Campbell.
It's definitely not Dan Snyder.
I mean, Dan Snyder. Oh my God. Dan Quinn. My bad. Jesus, that is awful. Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, and then I would put Sean Payton fourth. Right now, that would be my order.
For coaches?
For coach of the year at the halfway point.
But why? Why would you pick Sean Payton after some of the comments that we have shared in our chat?
Because the Broncos shouldn't be 5-3 right now in my mind, and I've got to give due where it's due, regardless if I think he's the right man for the job long term.
There is no media outlet out there that would pick the Broncos on paper to win any game this year.
We talked about that when we did our
right
predictions.
This
we
is
knew
where
that.
posting matters. Vegas had the Broncos at 5.5 wins. The Broncos win one more game this year. Anybody who bet that win. Coaching matters.
I don't think Sean Payton's the right guy long term. Was he the right guy to right the ship from the disaster they were in? Yeah, I said that. I don't think he's long term the right answer. But I will give flowers where flowers are due. I did not have them at 5-3 right now. I did not see them being this competitive for the season. Do I think he's coach of the year? No, because I think there's 3 dudes ahead of him that are doing a better job. But he's in that mix.
There's time.
Look, the Broncos keep going the way they are, and they find a way to get to 10. He's
I feel
right
like
up there with everybody else.
He's going to be in the like when you watch NFL honors, Broncos get to 10, he's got to be one of the top 3 guys.
Absolutely.
He may not win it, but he's got to be one of those top 3 guys.
That's all right, Robert, I got. Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, and then Sean Payton. That would be
I'll give you my guys, Robert, before I ask you again who you would pick. I've got, at the moment, I would agree with Caleb, Dan Quinn, Matt LaFleur, and then I would take, Kevin O'Connell, and then Sean Payton would be I think Sean Payton is going to be in the conversation by the end of the year. So that's where I'm at right now.
I don't hate the LaFleur. LaFleur is up there. You could easily throw him in for the same reason I'm throwing in Dan Campbell. When you have expectations and you meet and then, in my opinion, exceed those expectations, you should be credited for that. So LaFleur and Campbell are in the same boat. I'm surprised I forgot about O'Connell. That's a really good pick as well. There's 5 or 6 names right there that are all neck and neck, in my opinion.
And Dan Campbell could absolutely be there. But after last season, the expectations were they were going to be pretty good this year. And so sometimes when, Belichick never won Coach of the Year, right? Because his team was expected to be good and they were good. The Coach of the Year usually goes to the coach that is basically gone above what the expectations were. The Commanders were not expected to be very good. Jordan Love goes down game 1. They're not expected to rebound and be very good. Malik Willis, Matt LaFleur has gotten some really good football out of him. So he's in there for me.
Speaking of Malik Willis, Titans should have just listened to me. Build an offense around the dude and run with him for a little bit and see what happens. Because LaFleur is showing you there was some talent there worth looking into.
Robert, who would be your coach of the year?
I'll be honest. I really like Dan Quinn. I really like him because of what he's been able to do with Washington. Because the Commanders were in, like, no man's land. They were anyone's target. And they have now become I don't want to say a force to be reckoned with, but they're a wall to break through right now. They are a challenge.
When you saw Commanders on your schedule in the past, you went, that's a dub.
Absolutely.
Now you say, that's a game.
Oof. And no, absolutely. And that is every week when we talk about what games we're looking forward to. I mean, I know this last week we talked about a dub. Commanders, Bears, anybody would have picked the Bears at the end of the day. Like we would have thought that would have been a no-brainer. But the Commanders came to play and really show that they are here to win. They love to play the game, and Jayden Daniels is a boss.
I mean, if we're being really honest, Kingsbury's putting himself back in contention for another head coaching job.
I think he needs 2 years, but yes. Yes.
I'm not saying immediately
Maybe a
I
Ben
would give him
Johnson
one,
situation.
but his name's going to start coming up again.
It will,
because of what he's doing with Jayden Daniels right now.
I think people are going to want to look for 2 years of performance to get him back into that conversation.
It's I mean, I said earlier, Ravens, I believe, are the top scoring offense right now after last weekend. Washington is number 2.
That is true.
So you want to start thinking about comparables and history and things of that nature. This Washington team, the way they're built and what they're doing right now is not all that different from what Dan Quinn did with Atlanta when they went to the Super Bowl. High-powered offense with some weapons and a defense that can play solid.
Which
Maybe
means
not great, but solid.
Which means next year is that all-in year for them, because if Kingsbury's really good next year, he's probably going to get a head coaching job. And that's the tough part when you lose your offensive coordinator. That's why, at the end of the day, most of the time you want to hire those offensive coaches because they're the play callers, or they get the play callers to run what they want to run. And then you're not so worried about losing. I'm super concerned about the Lions after this season. When they lose Ben Johnson.
I don't know. I have some questions about Ben Johnson as a head coach, and they are similar to.
We talked about this in the spring.
I see some similarities to his situation and what we saw a lot with a certain OC from Kansas City in Bieniemy.
We all know when you call plays, that doesn't mean you can lead men and be the head coach when you have to deal with everything.
By all accounts, rumor mill started after last offseason. Ben Johnson does not interview well. That was the rumor mill going around.
I don't think it's going to matter.
We'll see. We'll see. We definitely will.
I mean, Lions put up 40 last week. They put up 50 this week. That offense keeps rolling. That's not going to matter.
Let's go, boys.
Teams are going to have their mind made up before the interview.
Maybe.
Lion pride. Let's fucking go.
We did coach of the year. How about Robert? Who's your defensive player of the year?
Don't ask me that because I'm still in.
I know you're still sad that Aiden Hutchinson's out. R.I.P. to the guy. I'm with you.
It's a hard question, Pinky. It's a very hard question. And I don't have a clear answer on that because I'm still recovering emotionally. I need to find someone else to care about.
I'll throw out a name, and the numbers aren't going to back it up. But I think without him, this team is nowhere close to what they are. And I think Chris Jones needs to get some love.
I almost said TJ Watt, but Chris Jones could be in the conversation. I could see
the numbers will not be there to back up necessarily the award, but what he does on the field for that defense, you can't put into numbers.
Well, the folks that understand how the game works Well, no, Chris Jones is a freaking beast. And that whole defense, if Chris Jones gets hurt, that defense will not be as good.
Absolutely.
Flat out. Flat out. So I am with you. I would definitely vote for that myself. I think Chris Jones would absolutely be on the list. I've got two other players. One that you don't like. I would put TJ Watt on the list.
He's an animal, and without him, Pittsburgh's defense isn't the same. So absolutely. And he will have the numbers to back it up.
His numbers are there. And then I would also put, I think Patrick Surtain is on the list as it stands today.
I would agree.
I would also agree now I will say, with Dallas's performance this year, it's not really much of a conversation, but Micah Parsons, how are we feeling about him right now?
He's been out for 5 of the 7 games, right?
Okay, I was going to say, but if he was healthy, do you think he could make it happen?
No.
Too many games missed. Pinky, real quick, let's stop saying I don't like Patrick Surtain. I love him. He is the best cornerback in the league. There's a difference between thinking someone's really good and liking them and thinking what's best for the team.
Let it go, Pinky. Just drink your drink and let it go.
I love him.
I
love Surtain. But when you can get 2 firsts for a dude and you have a lot of holes to fill and you're basically in a rebuild mode, it's hard for me to not say take the value. That's all it comes down to. I'm thinking long-term success versus right now. It's similar to when the Broncos traded Clinton Portis for Champ Bailey. I remember a lot of Broncos fans pissed about that. But I love the move because it gave you what you needed. They needed that corner on that defense to be more successful. And based on the way they had the run game set up, which was proven, they could plug and play some different dudes to get the same production. The defense, if I'm being honest, didn't look awful when Surtain wasn't in. They still look pretty damn good. So that's what it comes down to for me. So let's stop saying I don't like Pat Surtain. I love the dude. I just think value and asset are big things in the NFL.
Robert, did you have anybody else?
I'm still emotionally trying to fucking recover and find somebody else I give a shit about because
Aiden Hutchinson was leading that race before he went down. There's no doubt.
He's definitely on the list for sure.
And we've talked about this several podcasts ago. The amount of respect I have for Aiden Hutchinson as a person outside of the league is pretty tremendous because not only is he's a big nerd, he also cares for a lot of things that I also care about. And to see and as a soccer player, a tibia-fibia break is one of the I almost cried because watching that, that is my biggest phobia in my life.
It's a bad injury to have for an athlete.
And anyone else in the league right now, I could care less about. That is my favorite player right now, and that hurt. It really hurt. And because I care my whole life, and I am on the fucking wagon for them to go the distance. And with Hutchinson, I have no question, no doubt in my mind. And I do not have a plan B. I just don't, because I had that much vested into this situation. He's again my favorite player in the league right now, and it sucks. And no one else is meeting that caliber of play.
I was rooting for him, man. I really was. After I met him, he signed my draft football. I mean, that guy. I got his jersey. I root for that guy.
All right, move along.
I hope he comes back. All right. MVP?
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more on the list, though. I feel like it's changing every week.
Yeah, I don't think it's close right now. I think it's Josh Allen.
But why?
Because he's got, one turnover right now. He's playing out of his mind. The Bills are looking really good. Does he have 2 now?
They're 6-2.
Right, they're 6-2. He's only got 1 turnover. I think he threw his first interception this weekend or last weekend. You take him off of that team, and they are not Super Bowl contenders.
I mean, you take most quarterbacks off of a team, they're not anything contenders.
I'm not going to disagree, but I think he is the clear-cut MVP right now. I will also include Jaden Daniels in the conversation. I said last year, had CJ Stroud not gotten hurt and missed 2 games, he was my MVP. Because he was a rookie and he did something with a team that nobody expected to be in the playoff hunt. And they were balling, and he was balling. Jaden Daniels is playing very similarly to what Stroud did last year. So he is in the conversation. But his numbers aren't quite as good as Allen's, and the team isn't quite as good as Buffalo. So I give Allen the edge in those regards. Now, Derrick Henry will be on the list. Lamar is definitely on the list because his numbers are even better this year than they were his MVP season. So to leave Lamar out would be absolutely absurd.
It's Josh Allen. It's Lamar. God, is there a third? I mean, Jaden Daniels, although this is where Jaden Daniels probably gets the nod because of wins. His team's 6-2. Bo Nix has more total touchdowns than Jaden Daniels right now. It's not a big lead, but I'm just saying, it changes it up a little bit.
I mean, if we're being honest, though, if you're being honest with yourself, if you could pick Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels, you're picking Jaden Daniels 10 out of 10 times.
But if you put Bo Nix with that offensive coordinator and that weapons around him, would he not produce on a similar level?
Similar, maybe. I don't think he'd have quite the same numbers, though, because his legs aren't nearly as dangerous as Jaden Daniels. And that is a whole other level of ability that puts defenses on their heels. While Bo Nix can run, it's not like he's Tom Brady by any means. That's not what I'm trying to say. Bo Nix can move, and he can run the ball. It's not dangerous, though, like Jaden Daniels. He's not being compared to Lamar Jackson like Jaden Daniels is.
Right. Jaden Daniels is Lamar light at this moment. So I don't hate Jaden Daniels being in that conversation, but I would say, he's going to have to keep putting a couple more good games on that resume to stay in the conversation.
I also believe if you're looking at film and everything, what Jaden Daniels is being asked to do is a lot more than what Bo Nix is being asked to do within the offensive scheme.
I would disagree. Because Bo Nix is running that whole offense, checks, guys in motion, barely any pass catchers around him, guys dropping. If he had Terry McLaurin, the 2 bombs that Nix threw this weekend would have been caught instead of going right through the guy's hands. Both of them. They were perfect balls. Jaden Daniels has got guys catching those balls. Bo Nix does not. Again, Jaden Daniels is still a better quarterback. Absolutely true. But the situations are different with the talent they have around them.
Won't disagree at all.
But Jaden Daniels is probably third on the conversation, even as a rookie.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he leading the month in rookie stats right now as a quarterback?
Bo Nix is.
Yeah.
He's playing good ball.
He's playing some good football, even though some people in the media are still hating on him. He's playing some decent ball. We'll see how the next 3 games go. He's probably going to learn some tough lessons over the next 3 games.
If we're being honest, competition-wise, it's not much different what Bo Nix has faced compared to what Jaden Daniels has faced up to this point in the season. So there's some comparisons to be made, no doubt.
I would say Jaden Daniels had a much easier path this season.
I think on paper you would have said that at the beginning of the year, but as the season's progressed, I don't know if you could.
I don't know.
Let's say that.
I could run it down. Let's see.
Where's this sheet?
Good thing I've got Google. I've got Google. It tells me. So his first game was Tampa Bay. That defense is not fantastic. The Giants.
No. Where are the sheets that we did to back this point up? Caleb, you have them.
Those sheets are irrelevant. We wouldn't have picked Washington to win this many games. That's guaranteed.
Well, one of us would have.
Maybe.
Caleb, I wasn't trying to open up that, but okay. Just trying to justify the existence, but that's all right.
Tampa's defense, not great.
Not great.
New York's defense, not great.
I'd argue they're right in the middle of the pack. Giants have been fairly good defense this year.
Cincinnati's defense, hot garbage.
Not good.
Arizona's defense, not great. Not awful, but not great. Cleveland's defense, at times, not great, as they should be. They should be better.
That was more their offense causing them issues than it was their defense being bad. But okay, fair.
Baltimore,
not good.
Which Baltimore gave them some fit. And Baltimore's defense is one of the worst passing defenses in the league right now. Carolina,
not good.
Chicago might be right now the best defense they've played on that list.
Chicago, in all fairness, is a top 7 defense right now, I believe. So they're good.
I'm just saying.
You give Bo Nix, you give him Pittsburgh, and you give him the Chargers. But outside of that, he hasn't really had to play anybody either.
I mean, Seattle's a top 10.
Now, here's why I will say sets this all apart, though. And again, it goes back to talent around you. But Jaden Daniels, as I said, is leading the second highest scoring offense in the league. Bo Nix, if I remember correctly, is somewhere around 20.
What are they got right now that the Broncos don't have on offense?
A run game and a wide receiver.
They've got a really good run game. Brian Robinson is, if you don't know that name, you should. That dude is balling.
But a lot of that, again, is play calling, which goes back to why I think long-term Sean Payton isn't the right man going forward. But I'm not trying to rehash the argument. I'm just saying,
I don't think Javonte Williams can see a hole to save his life. So his vision's pretty bad.
It's hard to say. It is hard to say at this point.
But we'll move forward. All right, that was MVP. I don't think there's any other big Coach of the Year, Defensive Player, MVP. Those are the top 3.
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie, okay.
Probably the final one.
I mean, Jane Daniels is running away with that right now.
But I feel like that's not even a real conversation at the moment.
I mean, it's Jaden.
If you say Bo Nix second, I might be a little pissed.
Bo Nix is up there. He's got to be in
I
the
would say he's third. He's third or fourth. I don't think he's second, but he's third or fourth.
Whether or not he's in the conversation at the end of the year will depend on this 3-game stretch that they're about to go to.
Dude,
what he does in these next 3 games could decide. Doesn't matter if they lose all 3.
It's how
they can lose all 3. If Bo Nix can go for 250 and a couple tuds and maybe 1 or 2 interceptions in that 3-game stretch, so he can maintain pace to be in the conversation.
Let me ask you this: the average of the next 3 games, what do you say he passes for?
I would say right around 200. 220, somewhere in that ballpark, I would say.
Baltimore and Atlanta, he's gonna throw okay. It's the Chiefs game that's gonna be a problem. So we'll see.
Well, yes, he was QB2, but let's make sure we take that with the giant ocean of salt because they played the Panthers.
Right, they played the Panthers.
J.C. Horn came out and yelled at Sean Payton for running up the score when it was 28-14. Like, that's anything but running up the score. And that shows you how trash and how awful it is inside that building of Carolina that J.C. Horn would think that was running up the score.
If Cortland Sutton doesn't fumble at the 1, it's 35-14. But
that's still not running up the score. That's nowhere close to running up the score. So
right.
the frustration poured over very clearly for Carolina players, specifically J.C. Horn in that moment. Last point I want to make about the NFL, Pinky, before we head off for the night. The NFL has got to figure out their replay system because right now it is absolute trash.
The play
they
calling,
also
the refs are trash. The replays are trash. Like
the refs are trash for a completely different reason. The NFL needs to make them full-time employees. We're not going to go down that conversation right now. We don't have time.
Caleb, this is a very bold statement I'm about to fucking make, and you're the only person. But Pinky, I love you, but it's not something you can respect. You won't respect it. It's like it's almost worse than VAR, dude. Like it is awful. Pinky, do you know what VAR is?
I have no idea what that acronym means.
It's the replay system in soccer.
In soccer.
Robert, I could almost agree with you, except for we all know FIFA is just as corrupt as the NCAA, so I can't put any actual stock into a replay system that's run by a bunch of people who obviously, and everyone knows, has agendas. So it's tough to compare the two. The issue with the NFL replay is the fact that they pick and choose what can be replayed. You should be able to replay a face mask that was obviously missed. Like, there's zero reason you shouldn't be able to look at that on replay and go, missed call. Let's go ahead and change that. The other issue I have is the NFL needs to figure out what the fuck a catch is. Because if you're going to say a shin, a knee, and an elbow counts as being down in bounds, but a dude tapping the same foot twice is not, I have an issue with that. I have a major issue with that.
If you can hop twice, you're in.
Dude, I would argue touching the same foot twice in bounds is harder than getting two separate feet down in bounds.
Seriously.
I think there's a legit argument for that. So between only certain things being replayed, I think personally, coaches should get 3 replays and they can replay anything.
Hey, I'll go a
you
step
can challenge
further on
any
that.
play on the field.
I'll go a step further on the catch. If you get a foot down and you get your toe before the heel, it's good.
Not even that. Let's take it a step further. You can drag your toe forward, but you can't drag your heel backwards? What?
I feel like we're getting a little excessive with this.
I'm sorry. The NFL, every fan can be like, hey, that was a catch. And then the NFL can be like, no. Actually, by our rule book, it states in section 439, paragraph B, line 2, article 7, whatever, it says clearly that this is this and that. That is ridiculous. The NFL has to figure this out. This offseason, to me, is a huge, huge deal. When the rules committee meets, the competition committee meets, replay has to be adjusted. In my opinion, 3 replays, you can challenge anything, and the catch has to be changed.
Well, here's the thing that they really need to evaluate. If we have replay assist, why do we have to wait for a coach to challenge when we can absolutely see that they fucked up?
Because you have an eye in the sky that can tell the guys on the field that they were wrong. Just tell them they were wrong and let's move on. Well, the whole point of replay is to make sure the call is correct.
That's what bugs me. Is replay assist will buzz down and say, hey, you were wrong on that, and they'll overturn it, they'll change it. Coach didn't have to challenge. And then on some plays that are really obvious, coach has to challenge. And you're like, how did replay assist not come in and help there? I don't get it. So I agree with you, Caleb. We don't agree much, but there we go. Cheers it is. All right. Lead us out, Caleb.
Final thoughts, Robert.
I told Pinky earlier, Caleb, I'm going to tell you this. I don't care what your excuse is this time. You need to watch The Penguin in like a week and a half. There's 2 weeks left of the episodes. Get through that shit so we can talk about it, because this is some of the best TV I've fucking watched, and I need someone outside of Andy to talk about this with, because he and I are nerding out, and I need you two to get in on this crap.
Dude, Batman is my wife's dude, and so anything Batman I cannot watch without her.
I need you to get through it.
Look, here's the deal.
Do it.
I will tell you this. Wait.
Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
It's shot up the list. It shot up the list, Robert. It is now second after we finish The Boys.
1.
So
it's better than season 4 of The Boys.
Once The Boys is
1.
finished, we will then start The Penguin, and everything else got pushed down.
Oh, all right.
But that is my wife's favorite superhero comic. Everything is Batman. She loves Batman.
It's done, Robert. I'm in. It's not done yet.
Y'all are lame. Well, Caleb, I understand. Pinky, come on.
I'm sorry, bro. I don't do it. I don't do the week-to-week stuff. I'm out.
It's what makes good content, Pinky. It's what gives us something to talk about. That's why you watch it week to week.
Agree. I do agree with Robert on that.
I can't harp on this enough. If you watch it week to week, there is so much to talk about.
Robert, this is why I'm so excited about Skeleton Crew, because I can watch that and not have to worry about the wife or anything, and I'll be able to be right on lock and step with you when that comes out.
All right. I will hold you to this because I know we are getting the first couple episodes in together, and then the week to week, I'm holding you to it.
Done, buddy. No problems there.
All right.
Thank you. Final thoughts.
I'm out. Let's go. Crown Jewel WWE this weekend. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm in for a long season when it comes to basketball.
Oh, hey.
Nuggets fans, buckle up. If we are in the play-in, I'm not going to be surprised. It's going to be rough. Buckle up. Now, good news is, ladies and gentlemen, you still have the beauty of those loved ones around you. Family, friends, inner circle, whoever you might consider that to be. You have those moments that you get to cherish with them. Take advantage of them. Jump on them when the opportunity presents itself. We cannot thank everybody enough for all the love and support, whether you agree or disagree with us, tuning in. Look, that's what we're about, the conversation. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, you want to hit us up, let us know how you feel. Get on us, social media. You know how to get in hold of us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Find us. We love you. Peace. We're out.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come back.